I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Jeff Charles, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Joe Schaefer. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation TV's online news program. How will conservatives manage to navigate the turbulent waters of the incoming administration? Preppers are hoarding canned goods and ammo for sure. But what if that peaceful transfer of power leads to an uncomfortable 4 years of leftist policies? Whatever will we do? Tim, you've watched the administrations come and go for a few years now. What say you on what you can do to stay sane until 2024?
Well, you know what? I'm going to turn it back on the voters, on the American people, because maybe the American people can finally decide what it is they really want. I mean, we got Bush, followed by Obama, followed by Trump, who reversed course of all the previous people. And then we get Biden, we're told, reverting back to the same thing the voters rejected in 2016. So do you know? Do the people know what they really want? Did we get Biden because people just couldn't take another 4 years of Trump's personality? Or did the voters say they were wrong in 2016 and change their minds? But I can tell you this much. Trump is in a position to hold the Republican Party hostage because he's got so many people that love him, not the party, but him. And if those people are excluded in the future, it's going to get ugly in the Republican Party, and there's going to be a split that's going to leave the Republicans as an unelectable party if they do not mollify the Trump base. And out of those 75 million who voted for Trump, you could say there are 20, 30, 40 million of those who are Trump people rather than Republican people.
Okay, but you sort of evaded the question. Where I was going with this is, what can you personally do? And you've told me, what you're going to read, what you're not going to read,
right,
what you're going to listen to, what you're not going to listen to.
Well, so it's interesting. As a journalist, I'm going to, and all of us here, Joe and Jeff and Sarah and yourself, Lisa, we've all covered this stuff with a fine-tooth comb for 4 years. Frankly, we're all exhausted from covering the Trump administration. But what we can do, since we have a depth and breadth of knowledge, is to just read about just what we need to know, and no more than that. Because we know, for example, if Joe Biden says, I'm going to reverse Trump's border policy, we know exactly what direction it's going. We know why he's doing it. And we know that he's committed to doing it because the base demands it. So, everything that he does is going to be very predictable. And the reasons that he's doing them are going to be very predictable, too. But Republicans can stay, focused on what happens with Trump, whether the GOP is embracing the populist nationalist vision of Trump blended together with conservatism, because that is the winning message. And if they move away from it, big trouble.
Sarah, what are your hacks for the next few years?
Well, a little bit like Tim, I'm going to sit in a tree like a vulture and wait for something to keel over so I can pick at it until I can get what I want out of it. And I'm going to be doing that at my local pub and drinking wine and eating some good food. I don't think immersing ourselves in every single detail is helpful. I think what unfolds, it's like you give them enough rope, they're going to hang themselves. And so let's just see what unfolds. Let's not panic. And I've cautioned people, the world's not coming to an end. In fact, it might be kind of amusing for a while. So I think we just got to sit back and wait and suck down some good bottles of Chianti or bourbon or whatever else is handy.
Whatever gets you through the night.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to go next because you moved in on bourbon, which is that's where I was going. But my hack is actually to read more American history. And the reason for this is because I think that reading about American political history is somehow comforting. It lets you know that this isn't the first time, people have hated each other. I mean, you had Teddy Roosevelt and Taft who despised each other, but then they made up. And the person who cried the most at Teddy Roosevelt's funeral was William Howard Taft. You also had the same situation with John Adams and Jefferson. They were bitter rivals for many years, and then they began corresponding and made friends. I've been reading a book on the 1920 election, and this is interesting. So if you look at 1920, you had Warren Harding, and 2020, you have Joe Biden. But listen to this inaugural quote, or this wasn't an inaugural quote from Warren Harding. This is one of his famous quotes. America's present need is not heroics, but healing, not nostrums, but normalcy, not revolution, but restoration, not agitation, but adjustment, not surgery, but serenity. I mean, that sounds an awful lot, like, kumbaya, we need some healing. So I find that reading American history is very comforting, very helpful. It reminds us that this too shall pass. Tim did a calculation last night over dinner and found out that most presidents last 1.2 terms or something like that.
Yes, 1.2 terms. So if you take out FDR, who served 4 terms, he was the only president that served more than 2 terms. You're left with 45 presidents over 55 elections. So the average president, and there's pre-Civil War history and there's modern American history, but the idea of the certainty of a 2-term president is a fairly modern construct. A lot of presidents really only last the 1 term, although we're used to over the last 100 years. Of course, Trump became only the 4th president in the last 100 years, along with Hoover, Bush, 41, and Jimmy Carter, not to win a 2nd term in the White House, if you believe the election results.
All right, Jeff, what's your hack?
I've got a few that I'm doing. I mean, I realize that I need to, I live in politics and I need to not live in politics. So I've been doing things. I've picked up the banjo. I'm starting to learn how to play that instrument. It's nice to get back into music again. I am going to be devoting more time to reading. I even downloaded a class on how to draw. So I'm trying to look for other things to get my mind off of politics. But also within politics, I'm going to start getting more involved in the local Republican Party here. I mean, I think that we have to remember that our local politics affect our lives more than the president, whether it's Biden or Trump. So I think when people get more involved in their communities, they feel like they have more of a sense of control over what happens, rather than just focusing on the federal level where we don't really have a whole lot of say in what goes on other than to vote somebody in or out.
Oh,
I will say this. It's going to
bring your banjo onto the next slide.
I will say this, and I think all of us can agree on this, that the next 4 years couldn't possibly be more tumultuous than the last 4 from the standpoint of the White House and the president. We're all going to get something of a little bit of needed rest here after covering a whirlwind presidency unlike any we've ever had, and I'm certain unlike any we'll ever see again.
All right, Joe, hit it.
Oh, this is going to sound I really liked what Jeff said, by the way, but this is going to sound scolding or lecturing, and it's not meant to. It's about personal agency, about making yourself feel good. And that to me is, don't give money to people who hate you. Don't give money to Netflix. Don't give money to Hollywood. Don't watch the NFL if you feel that, you're sick of their garbage with their social justice pandering. When I say this to people, I say it to my friends, they get a little defensive because they think it's an all or nothing proposition, that if you don't do it 100%, you're a hypocrite or something. It's not a purity test. No one's grading you, but just for your own sense of well-being, you'll feel so much better if you don't take your own money and give it to these people. I personally had a hard time boycotting Amazon. I did it geez, 5-6 years ago. I don't remember what I was upset about then. But Amazon is so easy to buy things, so easy to get books. And I just got sick of what Amazon was representing. I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm not buying another thing from them. And, it was easy. And did I kill Amazon by doing that? No. Do I feel a lot better about it? Yes, I do. It was hard maybe for like 2 months, and now I don't even think about it anymore. So that is my advice is spend your dollars thinking about things like that, and don't think about toppling something. Just think about it's going to make you feel better to be that way.
All right. So from protesting with your pocketbook to picking at the banjo, that's how we're going to get through this together. We'd love to hear how you plan to get through it. Put our comments on YouTube. And unlike Aunt Thelma's, or much like Aunt Thelma's kidney stone, we hope this too shall pass. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all our TV productions. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone, just $17.76 a year. And remember, folks, liberty all the time and everywhere.